Tonight we're monitoring the election for Prisila and Desmond. My name is Liz Science.
My name is Con Owens.
My name is Desmond.
And I'm Prisila Conde.
Okay.
Alrighty, so for healthcare, given the worrisome rise of mental disturbances within the younger generation of Americans over at least the last decade, what would you do? What would you now do to improve the mental health of our citizens?
You want to go first?
Sure, man.
I believe that healthcare is a human right, not a luxury. I support expanding access through public option and protecting affordable healthcare. I feel that I, as president, would lower prescription drug prices and invest in mental health services. No one should go bankrupt just to stay alive. That's insane. You're trying to say you break your arm. That's like $1,000 just to put a cast on. That's ridiculous. In my case, we would lower it and make it affordable to all humans in the U.S. Um, to add on to that, I believe that we should we should take mental health seriously, as you said, that it's been a rising issue. So yeah, I believe. Huh? Okay, thank you. So in conclusion, I believe that yeah.
All right, I believe that we should have cheaper healthcare for especially the poor and the veterans because they have the most struggle in the life. And then I believe also that we should lower down the prescription pills and then also take care of mental health, get everyone a daily like therapist or something, just someone to talk to. Mental health is really just a struggle in people's lives, the stress, mental stress, people dealing with grief. They just need someone to cope in. And what I'd like to add on to that is I also believe that we should just always just take care of ourselves. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Just focus on yourself. Uh, well, I disagree with you in how we should like give everybody like kind of free healthcare or whatever you were saying, because that also drives up taxes for everything else. That's part of our how we get our economy, and that's also how we as America get most of our money from. That's some of our revenue just gone, and we're gonna have to increase in taxes or increase in tariffs more, like what Trump's doing right now, or
That's uh, okay. That's a question. Next question. So, as president, what would you do to increase mental health treatment within the community for our vets and their families and caregivers?
Mm,
Desmond, you're first.
yeah. All right, I believe that how we should take care of veterans' mental health and is essentially we assign them a therapist or someone to check up on them daily, or maybe like a battle buddy who's also helping going through it. I believe everybody should have someone also confide in for the struggle. Um, I also believe that we should also just stay clear of alcoholism or anything else to steer clear of just confronting what we are afraid of or that trauma, and we should just talk it out. Yeah.
to add on to what Desmond said, I agree to some extent. I feel that we should take mental health more seriously when it comes to our vets. We should invest in programs like animal services, like a what is it called? Service animals. Service animals. I feel like we should invest in service animals. We should be more open about vets' mental health and yeah.
Yeah, I would like to disagree with the point of essentially having more funding for. Or after I was so rudely interrupted, I disagree that we should increase funding in groups, support groups, because most veterans don't like to. I know because I have a cousin who was a vet and he doesn't like to do support groups because that's some people just don't like to talk. I believe that they should talk to someone that they're already close to, with, like a battle buddy. They've been through the same thing, if they're still alive, hopefully. But if not, they can always confide in a unit or someone in their unit. Yeah.
Um,
The next question is, as president, how would you ensure that Americans keep their right to bear arms under the Second Amendment while also ensuring the gun violence drops?
I believe that we should uh, look into red flag laws, which is basically uh, saying that like if you're a danger to yourself or others, that you have the weapons removed. So I believe we should look into that more for gun laws, and I feel that we should ban assault rifles because they're very deadly. They have a high magazine, and I also believe that, in my opinion, that we should also ban handguns because they're more common than assault rifles. But I understand that goes against the Second Amendment. But in my opinion, it's about protecting lives. To be honest, I understand the Second Amendment, but in my opinion, saving lives is more important. And we should feel safe in our country, and having a gun should be a privilege. And that is all I have to say.
I believe that we should do background checks on people who are trying to buy guns, make sure they're mentally stable or try not to willingly harm someone. And I also believe that we should eliminate full automatic weapons, not assault rifles. I also feel like we should ban switches because that's also main cause that gang members or people who really want to cause harm. Uh, I also believe that we shouldn't have a drum mag over. All right, so I also believe that we should lower the drum mag size for civilian use. I believe we shouldn't exceed over maybe like 20 rounds because you really don't need any more than that. And then I would also like to disagree with what Priscilla said about banning handguns because that is just taking away a right. And you also said privilege when it's a right already, instead of you're already saying you're revoking the right and giving it as a privilege instead.
Well, actually, I never said it was a privilege. I said that it is a right and I respect the right, but I feel personally, in my opinion, that it is a privilege to help have a handgun. So just to clear that up, that's
That's it. All right, next question. With the unfortunate rise of gun violence in institutions such as public schools, what would your plan be to combat gun violence within schools?
I believe we should do metal detectors, metal wands, or one of the metal detectors that the airport use, and that way we can detect if there's anything wrong, and if there is a beep, like say chains or something, we can like move them aside, search the bag, and they're all good to go, and then they can just go on. I also believe that we should have some of the outdoor side locked. Obviously, what we're doing right now, it's not really high security though, but it does help. Um, yeah.
okay. I believe that we should also have metal detectors, but I feel, as Desmond said, that it's having higher security, more cops around the school, having uh, the students learn about the signs and what they should look out for and be aware of their surroundings. We should teach them about that. We should, um, and do in the case that like there is a shooting, we should teach students how to like like prepare a bullet wound hole. So if someone does get shot, they're prepared.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I would like to rebuttal. I would say you can't really prepare for that scenario. It really is just everyone's gonna be unpacking as soon as they hear a gunshot. I've seen it; it's happened before. I've also believed that we should also increase security, but we should also make sure that there's background checks on those security because they can also not be mentally okay or stable. Cops do go through a lot. They have a lot of stress and anxiety could trigger them. And then, as you were saying, looking for warnings, they could have the warnings, but they could never do anything. They could be depressed or something.
May I rebuttal? Okay. So I understand that people may not be prepared for a shooting, but in the state that we live in today, no one's really prepared for anything. So, do in the worst case scenario, say someone gets shot, would you rather them just bleed out? I feel like training our students to be prepared in such a scenario would save more lives, and then instead of just having the student dead on the floor, and there's no one knows what to do because they're not prepared. So I disagree.
Let me rebuttal to that. So you're saying that you would rather have a student go try to save a life while there's an active shooter there and not save their own life? This is essentially like the poly train scenario, if you've ever been familiar with it. Would you rather save one life or save five?
May I rebuttal? Well, in that scenario, I'm not saying to not save yourself, but I'm saying in the scenario where you're available to aid someone instead of just standing there looking at them dying, bleeding out on the floor. I feel like it would be smart of us as a country to teach our kids to handle such a situation. I never stated that we should uh leave. So
Okay, next question.
So, for the next question, as president, how will you engage with Mexico and other countries to reform, create, and implement cooperative immigration policies?
for okay. Well, as a Mexican myself, this country was built with from immigrants. They helped build our country. They were treated poorly. So I feel it's fair to have Mexico as an ally when it comes to our sources and um, a treaty. We can make a treaty. That would be smart of us. So I, as president, would
This is about immigration laws.
immigration laws.
Immigration policies. How do you want to implement, reform, and create immigration policies?
Um, I support a fair path to citizenship, protecting dreamers and people that want a better life in the U.S. Um, but I wouldn't punish those that are being separated from their families at the border, um, because that's just cruel. Secure doesn't have to mean cruel. We lead with humanity, not hate. So I feel like that's where I stand on that.
What I believe in is I believe we should do things the right way. We should also help them assist getting a green card because I know most of them just struggle trying to get a green card. So as a Mexican and a black person, I've seen both sides. Essentially, I believe that we should help assist getting green cards for them and also make sure that they are with their families, that they can also come in. And then I also believe that we should check and make sure that there is no criminals trying to come in or anything. I believe we should like ask locals, say like, hey, do you know this person? Like, are they okay? Or do you know if they're affiliated with any gangs or are they trying to like sell drugs or trying to ruin our economy? And yeah.
Um, I do believe that's humane, but I don't think that's realistic. Asking family members you know if they're involved in crime, because hypothetically speaking, if your family was involved in cartel, would you snitch on them?
Yes.
Okay, that's you. If you want to risk your own life, then to each their own. But drug cartel is very heavy in Mexico, so I don't think that's smart.
I also didn't say ask the family if they do any. I said neighbors, like neighbors, as in they're making sure other people are trying to see if they have done anything criminal activity or not.
Still applies. I don't think it's realistic.
Some loyal neighbors. Yes.
All right, is that it? Yeah, okay. So for the next question, do you believe that increasing border security is the most effective way to combat drug trafficking? Or should the U.S. focus more on international partnerships and demand strategies on reducing illegal immigration?
I believe we should do both. I believe we should increase border security and also have uh, more private contractors, or also just have undercover cops that also know the ins and outs of cartels and stuff. And then I also believe we should work internationally on working on immigration. We should order laws saying making sure people are good or trying to come in or actually good and not criminals or just illegal. And then I should also say that I guess I believe in that we should also just make sure that the borders are good and check.
Okay, as the previous question stated, as you know, we would join with Mexico. I feel that if we were to be allies with Mexico, we wouldn't need to increase our border security. We would be partners with their government, and I feel the need to increase border security is just unnecessary if we're partners with Mexico. So I feel that's more as a threat to the Mexican people. So yeah, I disagree on increasing border security, and I believe we should just be allies with Mexico and conform with them with their government.
Uh, just because just because if we are allies with Mexico, doesn't mean that there's still going to be conflict and stuff. Making sure that more immigrants are coming in, or more criminals also, that cartel can easily get in now, and then they could also build up a trade and start selling more drugs, and have a better buyers, having produced more cocaine and drugs for us American citizens.
Okay, I understand your argument, but there's no I in team, so I believe that if we work together, it would provide um a stronger effect instead of just us trying to be the macho man and handle it ourselves. I feel like we should be allowed to conversate with our ally. They're an ally for a reason. So that's my stance on that.
For the next question, how will you ensure that all communities receive equal access to clean air and water, as well as equitable response to climate disasters such as wildfires or
I think that climate change is real, unlike a lot of people. I think we should, as a government, provide um, cleaner jobs and protecting our natural resources. I feel like we should invest in uh, in energy, in reusable energy, and we can grow this economy while healing the planet. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I also believe in climate change, but I also believe that we should tackle down the supply chain, because that is one of our biggest reasons why are causing climate change, because all that fuel we're burning, fossil fuel and stuff. I believe we should find a more reliable source that doesn't cause harm to the economy. And then that's pretty much it.
is there anything you
Next question. What steps will you take to ensure we collectively reduce our carbon emissions? Do you have an emissions reduction target or timeline?
Uh,
You want to go first?
yeah. Yes, I do believe that we should have carbon emission targets. I believe that that is one of our biggest factors. We should also stop cutting down trees because that also helps with the carbon emission and releases H2O back into our planet. I also believe that we should target supply chain, like I said before. That's also one of the biggest carbon emissions in the U.S. because of all these shipments, your packages, planes, boats, cars.
Um, well, um, as Desmond said, I believe that we should be careful with our carbon emission. I believe that if we invested in certain technologies that our carbon emission can reduce significantly. Um, but other than that, that's all I have to say.
Any further questions? As president, how will you support slash advocate for families impacted by drug addiction?
I feel personally, addiction. I feel addiction should be treated with care. I feel that us punishing and criminalizing people that have an addiction is a short term solution. I feel that we should provide services that help with dopamine levels, which is what users get from drugs like methamphetamine, heroin. So I believe in a long term solution, which is services that you know provide dopamine naturally and safely. So that's my stance on that.
I believe how we should help families with addiction is make sure they're in a support group, also help them get through the rough time, but also ask them where they got the drugs so we can also track down the dealer and then hopefully the supplier and then cut down that whole drug trade.
Adding on to what I said previously, I feel that we should expand access to rehab and mental health services to those that need it, and stop ending and stop put a stop to mass incarceration for said addictions. And that's all.
Yeah, I would like to rebuttal. I would be saying you're saying we should give the addict another addiction to get addicted to, so that way they stop. You said you're gonna do a dopamine levels, or
Okay. Well, to clarify that, I mean when I say giving them dopamine levels healthily, I mean like taking them to the park or taking them to Six Flags or taking them that to something that they enjoy or letting them explore options that they never thought of. I never stated that we should give people with addictions more drugs. So just that was just to clear that up.
1980, the U.S. Since 1980, the U.S. prison population has grown by 800%. The United States, you go like,
Since 1980, the U.S. prison population has grown by almost 800%. The United States has more people behind bars than any other country in the world. What would you do as president to reduce the U.S. prison population and end mass incarceration?
Okay, for one, I feel that we should educate our police system. There's been a lot of cases where people are arrested for petty or simply stereotypical reasons. So I would create a system that educates our police force, and then I feel that like that. What was the statistic? I feel that that has to do with a lot of a certain drug, marijuana. I feel like that's a great contributor. I would legalize marijuana because I feel that it could be used medically, and there's a lot of bad stigma around it. But I believe that marijuana should be legalized. Thank you.
How I would combat it, the people infliction of people in prison. I also believe that we should try to find out what they were in prison for. If it's a mild incarnation or like something they just did, like a petty crime, like stealing or something, we should already release them. They should. There's no way they should be in there for over a year or two. I also believe that we should check into the police who have put them into that prison or arrested them, see what that probable cause was, and if it was invalid or due to a petty reason or racially. I believe we should send like fire them and just get rid of the racial cops.
Okay, you're stating that we shouldn't have consequences for petty crimes like stealing, right?
There should be consequences, but I'm saying it shouldn't be a major consequence. I should believe it shouldn't be like a year. It should be like more something more like close to a week or something. It shouldn't be that long just for stealing something.
Well, okay, I believe that instead of incarceration, that I believe in fines more because people love their money. So if you want to do something stupid like steal something or get a $5 discount from a store, I believe that you should pay a fine instead.
How much would that fine be?
Well, it depends on the petty crime. So the price range can vary, and it also depends on how many times you've done said crime. So if you're known for stealing, then your fine would be obviously a lot higher than your first time stealing.
Questions?
All right. Today, only 20% of the world's people live in free countries. What do you view as the United States' role in strengthening democracy and protecting human rights around the world?
I believe that we shouldn't be spreading ourselves too thin because that also weakens our defenses and also wastes our resources in troops, money. I also believe we should target free countries that benefit us. So, say like the Ukraine issue, I believe we should be supporting them. I disagree with us supporting the Palestinian issue that has nothing to do with us. That really is just conflict between two people with religions, different religion beliefs.
Can you repeat the question?
Today, only 20% of the world's people live in free countries. What do you view as the United States' role in strengthening democracy and protecting human rights around the world?
Well, currently, as as our um, like our current president is not the most suitable in my opinion. Um, um, I feel that we can be more mature when it comes to foreign policies or um, dealing with free countries. I feel that we should heavily imply the Constitution. What else? Um, yeah, that's all.
Oh, yeah, I would like to add on. I disagree that we are like the only country supporting Ukraine as part of NATO. I believe we should start convincing other countries to also help because it's not fair for us just to be doing this alone, supporting. Because we're sending troops, money, guns, weapons, in all of the fight for democracy, of course. But
The next question is conflicts regarding foreign interests with one another are growing more and more frequent, such as Russia, Ukraine, and Israel and Palestine. How much involvement, if any, should the U.S. have in these foreign conflicts? Should these foreign conflicts be a priority for America?
I believe that America should lead with diplomacy, not division. I support strong alliances defending democracy and standing for human rights worldwide. That includes supporting Ukraine and rejoining global climate efforts. We don't isolate, we collaborate. The world is watching, and I feel with the whole Palestine and Gaza, I feel that we can do our part in helping them, but it is a conflict, as Desmond said, between those two. But we can always have a support from a distance. I believe that not involving is just selfish.
Well, like I've said before, I believe that we should be assessing Ukraine. We can't focus on two countries at once that are both dealing with a war right now. It makes no sense to spread out troops more when we can help, say, do one country and then help the others. I believe that we should just focus on one and then slowly assist other countries. I believe uh, that the Palestine issue is something that really just needs to be resolved internally. We have no right or intention of knowing what's really going on. It is something that we don't have much information really about.
Any further?
Well, like I said previously, that we would help Palestine and Gaza from a distance. I never stated that we would help both at the same level simultaneously. That would be not wise of us to waste our not waste our resources, but to spread our resources in conflicts that don't deal with us. But for Ukraine, as being a part of NATO, we should help them. We are entitled to because they are our ally. But like I said previously, we would help Palestine and Gaza from a distance.
Yeah, I would like to add, I never stated that you said that. I was just voicing my opinion on how I see it. Because we do have supporting two countries right now. That is what's currently going on. We are trying to get troops out of one, and essentially, right now, what our president's trying to do is try to get troops out of both. But I disagree with that. I believe we, as a person from, as a country for NATO, we should all do our equal part in helping Ukraine. But I just disagree that we should be the only one doing it.
Okay, so say the roles were reversed and we were in Palestine and Gaza's situation, you would your opinion still stay the same if the roles were reversed?
My opinion would still say the same because
Okay.
it's no right to have someone else involved in an internal affair of dealing with something that really is between two different groups.
Okay.
With that, do you guys have your concluding statements?
No.
Closing statements?
Oh, yeah. There's a closing thoughts part. So
Gotcha.
everybody watching to think about you.
For everybody watching, just vote Desmond Petty, cause that's the right choice.
Okay. Well, in that case, vote Prisila Conde. You know, if you want a better country for you and your family, you know, Priscilla for progress. Thank you.
Or after I was so rudely interrupted.